Welcome to Strides to Solutions. I am your host, Esther Adams, and today I want to talk about a writer I think about more than I probably let on. She did not quit dramatically. There was no bad fall, no big blow up with a trainer, no moment she can point to and say, that is when everything changed. She just quietly stopped entering shows. 18 months ago, she was genuinely excited. She was texting her barn friends about upcoming shows, looking at premium lists, talking about what tests she wanted to ride. And now, she is still riding. She posts at home sometimes, but competing, gone. And the hard part, the part that I find myself sitting with, is that she did not decide to quit. It just happened, gradually, then completely, the way those things do when nobody is naming what is actually going on. If any part of that feels familiar, even a little, you are exactly who I want to talk to today. Because I think this is far more common than we say out loud. I think there are a lot of riders sitting in that space right now. They ride better at home than they do at shows. They have scores that do not seem to reflect what they have built with their horse. They have been telling themselves for months, maybe longer, that they will enter when they are more ready, when the horse is more consistent, when the timing is better, and the timing never quite gets there. Here's what I want to say about that before we go any further. This is not a motivation problem. It is not a discipline problem. It is not evidence that you are not competitive enough or not serious enough or not cut out for this. I want to name that clearly because I think a lot of writers are carrying that story about themselves, and it is not accurate. What it actually is a mismatch between what you are being asked to do and what your system can genuinely support in that moment. And there is a difference between those two things that matters enormously and that most conversations about show nerves never quite get to. So, let me introduce you to an idea that I think is going to reframe this in a way that sticks. There is a psychologist named Vygotsky who spent his career studying how people actually learn, and he identified something that sounds almost too simple, but turns out to be one of the most powerful frameworks in all of learning science. He said that real learning only happens in one place, not where things are easy, not where things are overwhelming, right in the middle, in the zone where the challenge is genuinely stretching but still doable, where success is possible but not automatic, where effort produces growth rather than collapse. He called it the zone of proximal development, the zone where your next skill is actually proximal, actually reachable, if the conditions are right. Think about this from your own experience in the saddle. You have felt all three zones. When something is too easy, you check out. There is no growth happening, just repetition, and eventually boredom sets in. When something feels completely impossible, when the demand is so far beyond what you can access that failure feels inevitable, you brace, you tighten, you avoid. But when something is just right, when the challenge is genuinely at the edge of your current ability, but within reach, that is when everything clicks. That is when you feel yourself actually improving. That is the zone where riders grow. And here is what I want you to hear clearly. Most riders are not competing inside it. Now, here's the part that I think is genuinely exciting, and I do not want you to miss it. Western Dressage already solved this problem. It is built into the test structure itself. When you read the Western Dressage Association of America test purpose sheet, not just as a judging rubric, but as a curriculum document, you can see Vygotsky's zone staircase laid out in plain language, level by level. Introductory level asks for relaxation, acceptance of the aids, harmony between horse and rider, and a jog that demonstrates a swinging back. Basic level confirms that the horse is supple and moving freely forward, and then says something that I think is easy to read past but is actually doing a lot of work. It says the horse is beginning to develop more impulsion and balance, beginning to develop, not arriving at, not demonstrating fully. Beginning. That is not an expectation of perfection. That is an invitation to the next step. Level 1 introduces some collection and suppleness. Level 2 confirms that the horse has achieved the impulsion required in Level 1 before asking for anything more. Each level is designed to be the right next challenge for a horse and rider who have genuinely confirmed the one before it. The progression is not arbitrary. It is a scaffolded learning pathway where each confirmed step becomes the foundation for the step that follows. The levels are not expectations of perfection, they are invitations to what is next. And the evidence from learning research is consistent on what this kind of structure does for the people inside it. When challenge is genuinely matched to current capability, riders build what psychologists call mastery approach motivation, the intrinsic drive to engage with the work because the work itself is meaningful. When challenge consistently exceeds what a regulated nervous system can support, that motivation shifts into something much more fragile, the motivation to simply not fail publicly. And that shift is one of the most reliable pathways out of a sport. So, what happens at a traditional show? At home, you are in a familiar environment. Your horse is settled. Your nervous system is not managing a strange barn, a charged warm up ring, or the constant low level awareness of being watched. You can access your training. The partnership you have been building shows up. The contact is soft. The transitions are willing. The horse is the horse you know. At a traditional show, all of that is still true about your training. What changes is the environment layered on top of it, and that layering is significant. You are not writing an introductory level test at a show. You are writing an introductory level test inside a completely different nervous system state. And there is research on what that actually does to performance, not metaphorically, but measurably at the level of cognitive load and motor control and physiological regulation. Your brain at a traditional show is not solely asking, can I ride this circle correctly? It is asking, am I safe? Am I being judged? What if this goes badly? What do these other riders think? Why is my horse doing this? It is managing all of those questions simultaneously while also trying to execute a technical task that requires fine grained feel and timing and communication with a 1,000-pound animal who is reading every one of those stress signals in real time. Research on dyadic physiological synchrony, which is the study of how two bodies regulate each other's nervous systems, finds that when one partner in a close relationship is dysregulated, the other tends to mirror that dysregulation rather than buffer it. The horse is not being difficult at the show. The horse is reading you accurately. The tight back, the elevated head, the shortened stride, those are not training problems. They are two nervous systems responding appropriately to a shared threat environment and producing together what neither of you would produce alone at home. And here is what I want you to sit with. The score you got does not reflect your training. It reflects what your training looked like under a load that the test purpose sheet never intended to include. That is not your failure. That is a system mismatch. And I think there is something genuinely relieving about being able to name it that way, because it means the solution is not about becoming braver or trying harder or pushing through. It is about changing the conditions you are showing in. If showing has felt like too much for longer than you want to admit, that is not a character flaw. It is information about the structure you have been placed inside. And the good news is that there is a different structure available, one that is specifically designed to preserve the zone rather than collapse it. Online Western dressage showing is not easier. I want to be clear about that. The tests are the same, the standards are the same. The judges are licensed through the United States Equestrian Federation, many of them holding large R and senior large R credentials, which represent the most experienced and thoroughly credentialed officials in the discipline. The scores count toward the Western Dressage Association of America's national recognition programs. What changes is that you ride the test in your home arena, in the environment where your training actually lives, and submit a video for evaluation. The judge assesses what you produced. The feedback comes back in writing, specific and usable, without the immediacy of a difficult public experience. Online showing lets you actually ride at your level rather than survive above it. And the evidence on what this does for riders over time is what I find most compelling. When a nervous system encounters a genuine challenge, real evaluation by a credentialed judge, Inside conditions that allow regulated performance, two things happen. The performance reflects the actual training, and the experience of surviving and often doing well begins to build a new kind of evidence about what competition feels like, evidence that gradually updates the threat prediction the nervous system has been carrying. Each submitted test, each score that reflects what you have actually built, each written comment from a judge who saw the real partnership, that is the scaffolding, that is how the zone stays intact rather than collapsing. Platforms including dressage shows online.com, Spotlight, Janssen Dressage Online, Kensington Farm Online Horse Shows, and Thistle Run Equestrian Event all offer Western Dressage Association of America recognized classes with credentialed judges. The year-end High Point program, free to enroll at wdaapoints.org, tracks your scores across the year toward a year-end belt buckle. The Western Dressage Association of Massachusetts, open to anyone, anywhere in the world, regardless of where you live, offers a bronze medal pathway beginning at introductory and basic levels, a Rookie of the Year program built entirely around participation rather than performance, and a year-end ceremony held online so that a rider in Montana or Texas or rural Canada can watch their name called the same as anyone else. And Western Dressage has regional clubs and associations across nearly every state in America, each with their own award structures and communities worth exploring. Riders stay in this sport when challenge matches ability, when progress feels real, when feedback is specific enough to be useful, and when the community signals that they belong here before they have figured out how to be great here. Riders leave when the gap between what they can do and what the environment demands of them is too large to bridge, when avoidance has become more comfortable than approach, and when the structure they are inside has never been named for what it actually is. So let me close by coming back to that rider. The one who quietly stopped entering shows 18 months ago. She did not lose her ability. She did not lose her love of this discipline. She did not lose the partnership she has been building with her horse on those quiet Tuesday mornings. She lost her place in the learning process. She got pushed outside her zone and never found her way back in because nobody ever told her that the zone could be protected and that there was a structure built for exactly that purpose. You do not need to be braver. You need to be in the right environment to grow again. If you have been on the edge of stepping away, I am asking you not to make that decision yet. Try one test in an environment where your real riding can show up. Enter one Western Dressage Association of America recognized online show. Film it in your arena on a morning that feels right and send it to a judge who knows this discipline. See what comes back. Then decide where you want to go next. Thank you for being here with me on Strides to Solutions. I am Esther Adams, and I will see you in the next episode.